fractions because we're going to be using those for our assignment today. So a reciprocal fraction is just a flipped fraction. So the denominator becomes the top number and the top number becomes the bottom number. So in the chat, give me the reciprocal fractions of those three fractions. All right, so the reciprocal of 3/4, yes, good job, is 4/3. All I did was move the top to the bottom and the bottom to the top. 5/3 becomes 3/5. And 1/2 becomes 2/1 or 2. So today we're going to be doing the reciprocal, or the negative reciprocal. So to make it a negative reciprocal, all I do is add a negative sign, or if it's negative, it becomes positive. So we're going to be dealing a little bit with that today. So the majority of our lesson is over parallel and perpendicular lines. Does anyone feel like they can describe parallel lines to me? If it's easier, you can unmute yourself. And if you don't, it's okay. Know what they are. So parallel lines are two lines in the same plane, so on the same graph. Oops. In the same plane that never intersect. And what do I mean by intersect? Cross or touch each other. So two parallel lines look like this. They're two lines that would go on and on and on forever and never touch each other. What? Yeah. I'm like, sure. So if they're parallel, they're going to have the same slope. So we've been working with equations in slope-intercept form. So these two lines, this is just an example. If they had the same slope, one would have y equals 2. They would both have y equals 2/3 x as their slope, but then the y-intercept would change. So maybe one is +2 and the other one is -1. So parallel lines are two lines in the same plane that never intersect, and they are only parallel if they have the same slope. Any questions on parallel lines? Okay. Now perpendicular lines are two lines, again, in the same graph. Same plane is just what the textbook uses, but same plane means same graph that intersect. So these ones do touch and cross, that intersect to form a right angle. So these ones are going to cross and make an X to make that right angle. So there's our little right angle. So this first line could have been something similar to this one, and it's y equals 2/3 x. But then our perpendicular line is going to be the negative reciprocal for its slope. So our perpendicular line is going to be -3/2x. So right here I have 2/3 x. And the negative reciprocal of that is just flipping the denominator and numerator and adding a negative sign. So slopes are negative reciprocals. Any questions on what perpendicular lines are? Okay, I always misspell this word. So reciprocals. Okay. So today we're going to be dealing with parallel and perpendicular lines. So it's kind of the same stuff we've been working with slope-intercept form. It's just parallel and perpendicular. So now we're going to identify which lines are parallel. So if they're parallel, is the slope the same or the reciprocal? You can just put same or are, because reciprocal is a hard word to spell. Let me go back here for you guys. So do parallel lines have the same slope or the reciprocal slope? And since reciprocal is hard to spell, you can just put S or R in the chat. So do parallel lines have the same slope or the reciprocal slope? Same, yes. So parallel lines have the same slope. So what I'm going to do here to figure out which lines are parallel is I'm going to calculate the slope. So we've done this from a graph before. We have our points and we're going to use the slope-intercept equation. So I have -4 and 3 and 1 and 2. So now I'm going to use these points to find the slope. So I'm going to go 2 minus 3 and 1 minus a -4. So I get 2 minus 3 gives me -1. And 1 minus a -4 gives me 5. So -1/5 is my first slope. Now I'm going to find my second slope of line B, the red line. So I'm going to go -3, 0, 1, -1. Slope formula. -1 minus 0 gives me -1. And 1 minus a -3 gives me 4. Oops. So not the same slope. They're a little different. Now let's do line C, the green line. I have -3, -4, and 2, -5. So I'm going to go -5 minus a -4 and 2 minus a -3. So -5 minus a -4 or -5 plus 4 gives me -1. And 2 minus a -3 gives me 5. So if parallel lines have the same slope, which two lines are parallel? So this is A, B, and C. A, B, and C. So which two lines are parallel? A and C. Yes. A and C are parallel because they have the same slope. -1/5 and -1/5. Those are the same slope. So identify which lines are parallel, A and C. So all we did was find the slope. Good job. So next, we kind of did this last week. We were given given 2 points and we had to find the equation. This time we're given 1 point and a line, and we need to make an equation of a line that is parallel, that goes through these points. So tell me again, are parallel lines the same slope or reciprocal slopes? You can either put S or C in the chat. Parallel lines the same slope or the reciprocal slope? Same, yes. So remember on the first slide I gave you this example. They're parallel, they have the same slope, but they have different y-intercepts. So I'm going to find an equation of a line that has the same slope, but a different y-intercept, and I'm going to find the y-intercept using these points. So since my slope stays the same, I'm going to rewrite my equation as y equals 2x because my slope is the same in parallel lines. But instead of plus 3, I'm going to put plus b because I'm solving to try and find the new y-intercept. So what I'm going to do, like we did before, when we had 2 points, we solved and found the slope, and then we plugged in one set of points to find the b. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to plug in 5 and -4 to this equation to solve for b. So what goes where y is, 5 or -4? Close. So this is my x and this is my y. So my y is going to be -4 equals, and then 2, and then for x, I'm going to put 5 plus b. So now I'm going to solve. So I'm going to simplify. 2 times 5 gives me 10 plus b equals -4 because nothing happened to this side. Now I'm going to move my 10 over to get b by itself. And what's -4 plus -10? -14. Yep, good job. So a line that is parallel to this line will have the same slope and then a different y-intercept. And we just solved for that y-intercept, or b, and it's -14. Anybody need me to go over this again, or did I lose you in any steps and you're like, can you just do from that part again? Or does this kind of make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay. Kind of makes sense. Awesome. All right. Now we're going to determine if any are parallel or perpendicular. So with the assignment today, you won't have to do this kind of stuff, but I'm just doing it to show you guys what parallel and perpendicular looks like. So don't get too confused about this. What your worksheet is going to look like is more so the finding a line that's parallel given the points, and then we're going to find a line that's perpendicular. So if you don't get this part, don't worry. Your assignment is going to be more questions like this. No questions like this, okay? Okay, so to determine which, if any, of the lines are parallel or perpendicular, I want them all to be in slope-intercept form because the slope tells me if it's parallel or perpendicular. So I want all my equations to look like line A. So line A is going to be black. I'm going to do blue for line B. So I want line B to be in y equals mx plus b form. So I'm going to move my x, and I'm going to make it so it's a y equals equation. So this is kind of what we did last week on transforming equations, how we're getting y by itself. Okay. So now I have it in y equals form. Now I'm going to do line C in y equals form as well. So I'm moving my x so that y is by itself. So I get -8y equals 2x plus 16. Now y has an 8 attached to it, so I'm going to divide to get the 8 alone. They cancel, and I'm left with y equals 2 over -2/8 minus 2. Oops, forgot my x. -2/8 can be simplified to -1/4. Okay, so now are they all in y equals form? Yes. So if they're parallel, they have the same slope. If they're perpendicular, they have a reciprocal slope. So a negative reciprocal slope. So it will be the fraction flipped. So do any of my lines have the same slope? What's in front of the x is slope. None of my lines have the same slope. So this one, my slope is 4. This one, my slope is -1/4. And this one, my slope is -1/4. So none of them are the same. B and C, yes. So lines B and line C are parallel because they have the same slope. Now, looking at line A, is it the negative reciprocal of -1/4? Yes or no? Remember, reciprocal just means flipped, and if it's negative, it becomes positive, and if it's positive, it becomes negative. And yes, line A is the negative reciprocal of B and C. So line A is perpendicular to B and C. So if I were to graph these, it would look like this. This would be line A, this would be B, and this would be C. So this is identifying parallel and perpendicular lines. Once again, it won't be on your assignment. I just wanted to show you that what parallel lines look like and then what a perpendicular line looks like. Okay, last example. Write an equation of the line that passes through -3, 1 and is perpendicular to the line y equals 1/2 x plus 3. So this one's telling me it needs to be a perpendicular line. So my current slope is 1/2. What is the negative reciprocal of 1/2? -2/1, yes. So I'm going to flip it so my denominator becomes the numerator and my numerator becomes the denominator. And then I need to make it a negative because it's a negative reciprocal. But if this was a -1/2, it would just be positive because a negative and a negative is positive. Okay, so my slope is -2/1 or -2. So I'm going to solve for B again, like I did in this example, using my new slope. So I'm going to put my new slope in and plus B because I'm solving for B. Now I'm going to put these points into my new equation to solve for B. -3 for x, 1 for y. Y is 1 and -3 for x plus B. Okay, now I'm going to simplify. -2 times -3 gives me 6. And nothing happened to the B and nothing happened to the 1. Now I want B by itself. So I'm going to subtract 6. My B's and my 6's kind of look the same. I need to make a better definition of it. Okay, 1 minus 6 gives me -5. These 6's cancel equals B. So my perpendicular equation is going to have a slope of -2 and a B of -5. So y equals -2x minus 5. So there's the perpendicular line, and here's the parallel line. So if it's a perpendicular line, negative reciprocal. So flip it and add a negative sign, or if it's negative, it becomes positive. Parallel, same slope. So let me go to the Google Classroom, and I already assigned 4.3. So if you guys want to open that up, we can get started on it together. And then we're going to have all of class on Thursday to finish it together as well. So I would recommend coming to class on Thursday so that I can help you with this and you don't have homework. So here's 4.3. The first slide is some vocab, and then the second slide looks like this. So a parallel line with these points, perpendicular line with these points, and then the third slide is just a little bit of review. So just equation of a line that the slope is this and it goes through these points, and then given 2 points, write the line. So We will start with number 1. Give you guys about a minute to get on that page, and then I can help you with it.